Abnegation, renouncing a belief or doctrine. Example, I believe in the abnegation of political power. Aggrandize, enhance power, wealth or status. Example, it was an action intended to aggrandize the Frankish dynasty. Alacrity, eagerness. Example, he accepted the invitation with alacrity. Anachronistic, misplaced chronologically. Example, he is rebelling against the anachronistic morality of his parents. Archetypal, quintessential of a certain kind. Example, she is the archetypal country doctor. Ascetic, one who practices self-denial as part of spiritual discipline. Example, she has adopted an ascetic life of prayer, fasting, and manual labor. Beguile, influence someone in a deceptive way. Example, he beguiled the voters with his good looks. Blandishment, intentional flattery for persuasion. Example, the blandishments of the travel brochure. Cajole, persuade by flattery or coaxing. Example, he hoped to cajole her into selling the house. Callous, disregard for others. Example, her callous comments about the murder made me shiver. Camaraderie, a sense of solidarity arising out of familiarity and sociability. Example, I like the enforced camaraderie of office life. Circumlocution, expressing someone in an indirect way. Example, his admission came after years of circumlocution. Clamor, proclaim something noisily. Example, the questions rose to a clamor in the meeting. Cognizant, awareness or realization. Example, politicians must be cognizant of the political boundaries within which they work. Construe, interpret or assign meaning. Example, his words could hardly be construed as an apology. Convivial, enjoyable atmosphere or jovial company. Example, it is a convivial cocktail party. Demagogue, a political leader who uses rhetoric to appeal to prejudices and desires of ordinary citizens. Example, the minister is a gifted demagogue with particular skill in manipulating the press. Denigrate, belittle someone. Example, there are many doom and gloom merchants who denigrate their own country. Didactic, instructive with a moral intent. Example, it is a didactic novel that set out to expose social injustice. Disparate, of a distinct kind. Example, they inhabit disparate worlds of thought. Eclectic, deriving the best ideas and styles from a diverse range of sources. Example, my university is offering an eclectic mix of courses. Egregious, reprehensible or outrageously bad. Example, it is an egregious abuse of copyright. Embezzlement, misappropriation of funds. Example, he has charges of fraud and embezzlement. Enervate, lacking in vitality or mentally morally drained. Example, the weather has an enervating heat today. Ephemeral, lasting for a short duration. Example, fads are ephemeral, new ones regularly drive out the old. Equanimity, maintaining composure in stressful situations. Example, he accepted both the good and the bad with equanimity. Fatuous, devoid of intelligence. Example, it was a fatuous comment. Gratuitous, uncalled for or unwarranted. Example, gratuitous violence was reported. Iconoclast, someone who criticizes or attacks cherished ideas and beliefs. Example, his son Jegnetius in 722 was taken to Constantinople, where he won over to his opinions the iconoclast emperor, Leo the Isaurian. Idiosyncratic, something peculiar to an individual. Example, he emerged as one of the great, idiosyncratic talents of the 90s. Incumbent, something that is morally binding. Example, the government realized that it was incumbent on them to act. Inveterate, habitual. Example, she is an inveterate gambler. Libertarian, someone who cherishes ideas of free will. Example, he is studying libertarian philosophy. Licentious, someone who is promiscuous. Example, the ruler's tyrannical and licentious behavior. Largesse, kindness or generosity in bestowing gifts or money. Example, the king can't bestow these costly jewels with such largesse. Multifarious, multifaceted or diverse. Example, the university offers multifarious activities. Obdurate, being stubborn and refusing to change one's opinion. Example, I argued this point with him, but he was obdurate. Ostracism, excluding a person or certain section from society by majority consent. Example, I argued this point with him, but he was obdurate. Pejorative, showing disapproval. Example, permissiveness is used almost universally as a pejorative term. Pertinacious, someone who is stubbornly unyielding. Example, she worked with a pertinacious resistance to interruptions. Phlegmatic, expressing little or no emotion. Example, he portrays the phlegmatic British character on the show. Promulgate, to broadcast or announce. Example, these objectives have to be promulgated within the organization. Quotidian, something that is of daily occurrence. Example, the car sped noisily off through the quotidian traffic. Recalcitrant, resistant to authority. Example, a class of recalcitrant 15-year-olds raided the store. Sanctimonious, pretense of being morally pious to exhibit moral superiority. Example, what happened to all the sanctimonious talk about putting his family first? Solipsism, the philosophical theory that only the self-existence is known and all that exists. Example, we cannot avoid the popularity of solipsism mentality. Travesty, distorting facts or imitation. Example, the absurdly lenient sentence is a travesty of justice. Ubiquitous, omnipresent or existing everywhere. Example, his ubiquitous influence was felt by all the family. Vicissitude, an unwelcome or unpleasant change in circumstances or fortune. Example, her husband's sharp vicissitudes of fortune. Vociferous, something or someone who is offensively conspicuously loud. Example, he was a vociferous opponent of the takeover.